In this video, we will see how to do basic CRUD operations in REST APIs. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Shri, software engineer from India. I make videos on programming. Now let's jump right into the video. In this video, first we will separate our tasks into two types. One is the database related actions and then what we do in Visual Studio. In database, we'll first create a DB and then create a table. So let's go ahead and do that. Let me open SQL Server Management Studio. Once SQL is open, let's connect. And let's create a new query file. So if you have seen my previous video, CRUD operations in C# console application, I have already created a database called CODB, and within that database I have already created a table called details, and I'm going to use the exact database and table here, so I will not be creating it again. But for your understanding, I'm going to write the comments. So let's write a query for create database, your database name. So once you execute this command, a new database called CODB will be created for you. And then if you see here, we are still in the master database. We want to switch to our newly created database so that we can start creating tables for us. So let's switch to that using the command use the database name. Once you execute this command, you will be into that database. Now let's write a create command for the table. So create table, table name. If you expand this table, you will see the columns user ID, which is a primary key, and username, which is a envarchar, that is a string, and user age, which is an int. We will be creating exactly that. User ID int, I am going to make it as primary key, and then identity as well. What this identity 1,1 means that our user ID will start from 1 and keep on increasing by 1. We will see how this works in near future. And I'm going to make it as not null since it's primary key. And user name, I'm making it as envarchar and giving it the limit as 50 characters. And user age, which will be int. When you execute this command, a table with these columns will be created for you. Why it's showing errors? I have already have a table, so I cannot create the another table with the same name. So let me see the contents of the table. The query to see the contents of the table is select star from table name. Since I have already used this table for my previous video, I have few entries in here. For you, it will be newly created without any entry here. Okay. So let's go ahead and create things from Visual Studio. Now we have completed our database related tasks. Let's go ahead and create a project in Visual Studio. Always run Visual Studio in administrator mode so that you will have all the rights for all the operations that you would like to do. I am creating a new project which will be ASP.NET Core Web API. I am giving the project name as CRUD operations in REST APIs. This is my repo. I am going to create a new location for this application. I have already have a CRUD application for C console application. If you want to watch that video, I am giving a link above. You can go ahead and watch it. So I'm going to use the same name for here. CRUD operations in REST APIs. So I'm going to use this folder. Next, this is my target framework, and when you create it, a new project will get created. Now our project is created. Let's see what we have here. We have our dependencies, that is the reference files, DLLs that we are going to use, and then we have properties which have launch settings. Does this have everything that we need to launch our application? Here we have controller, and we have here our app settings. Here we will specify things like our connection string if we want to, and this is our main program, and this is the model class for the controller. Let's execute and see what we have now. Okay, so now our Swagger page is loaded, and it has the collection of all the APIs that we have in our project. Now, since we have only one API that is pre-created while creating the project, that is shown here. If we try it and execute it, we will see the response here. Now let's go ahead and make this project customized for us. So now what we have done is we have created a project, and we have created DB, database, everything we have done. Now we have to get connection string and do the scaffolding process. Let's see how to do that. To get connection string, go to View, Server Explorer. This will show the list of servers that are already connected to a project. This is the one I have used for CRUD operations and C# console application project. I'm going to remove it, and I'm going to create a new connection. Since I know my server name, I'm typing it out. You can get it from SQL server name like this. So once I have done it, I will be shown the list of databases I have. I will select the one that I'm going to use, and now I have the connection established. Now this is my connection string. The next process is scaffolding process. That process automates the process of creating the model classes and the context class. So what the model class is, the class name is the table name, and the every single property is the column name, and the return type is the data type of that property. So if we don't use scaffolding, we have to create the model file for every single table we create in our application, and also a DB context file. So instead of doing that, we are going to automate that process. Let's see how to do that. Before doing that, we have to make sure few things. First thing is we have to see whether we have installed the necessary files. No. So now let's go ahead and install. Since we are using Entity Framework Core and SQL Server, we have to install two Nugget packages that would help us. One of them is Microsoft.Entity Framework Core.tools. Yes, I accept. Okay, that got installed for me here. Now next one, Microsoft.Entity Framework Core.SQL Server. This one, I'm going to install that as well. So now we have both of our Nugget packages installed. The next thing we need to do is make sure that we don't have any build errors. So I'm building it. There is no build errors. Okay, the next step is to do the scaffolding process. For that, tools, Nugget Package Manager console. So let's write up the command scaffold -db context. Now we need to enter our connection string. So once we have installed all the necessary packages, the next step is to make sure that there is no build errors. So I am rebuilding it, there is no build error. The next is to proceed with scaffolding process. For that, tools, Nugget package manager console. Let me write the command scaffold db context. Within the quotation, you will be writing your connection string. That connection string you will be getting by right clicking this properties, or else if you just click it, it will open up here. So this is our connection string. Let's copy it, paste it here, and then we have to write this package name Microsoft.entityframework.core.sql server. Once this is written, next kind of a command is the output directory, into which we need our model classes and db context file to be here. So let me go ahead and see, this is the command for it, output directory and the desired folder name. So let me write it out, output directory, and I want my model file and db context file in the folder called codb models. Let me make sure that the command is correct. Yes. So now let's go ahead and execute it. Okay, if you see, we have a new folder called codb models. It has db context file and detail.cs, which is the class name is our table name, every single property is our column names, and the data type is our on the return type is a data type. So we have our model and db context file created for us. And now let's go ahead and create the controller class. Now first let me minimize all these things. Let's first remove the default controller that's given to us. We won't be needing it, and weather forecast as well. So let's create a new controller. API controller empty. Why you can always use the pre-written templates, but since we are learning here, I'm going with the empty template so that we will be writing code for everything and we will learn it. I am giving the controller name as details controller. So now we have our controller created. Next we will have our interface and logic files created. Let's create that as well. On the project level, I'm going to create add new item. Sorry, we don't have to go to new item. Add new folder, and that folder's name will be logics. The reason why I am creating a controller folder and logics folder is the concept called dependency injection. Dependency injection is nothing but we make sure that all our individual components are loosely coupled. If you want to know much more about the dependency injection, let me know in the comment section. I will make a separate video on it. So now I'm going to create an interface, and then I'm going to create a logic file which will implement all the interfaces. This will be a class file. The class name will be I details logic. I represents the interface here, and I'm going to create another class which is a logic file which will implement the methods in the interface. That will be details logic. Okay, we have our interface and we have a details function, details file created. So this is we are in the step here, controller, interface and logic file we have created. So this is how we are going to proceed. So now in this video we will see the first method, get list. That is, we will get the list of all the records we have from our table using a get API. So let's go ahead and create that. Here let's create the get API. Let me give the root name http get, and let's provide the root as well. Root as API / details list, and I'm going to make this as I action result, so we will be returned with our status codes. Going to name it as details list, and I'm going to introduce a try catch block. Here I'm going to, when everything goes well, I will be returning success response, and within here I will call my method I have created. Let's keep it that for later now. Here I will be returning bad request. So this is our controller. So we have created our controller, we have our interface and we have our logic file. But how do we link all these three together? What I will do, I will create a object of this interface class in my controller. I will instantiate here and I will use that object to call all the methods in the interface. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. Let me create a read-only object of details class. What is my class name is I details logic. It is showing me error. Show potential fixes. It will include. Now the error is gone and I will have a object. Now within a constructor I will instantiate this object. Again, why we are doing all of these structures, we can directly write our code in controller itself, but we are segregating it into controller, interface and logic. The reason behind it is dependency injection. Okay, let me create a constructor. Within this constructor I am instantiating my object. Okay, now I have created a logic object using which I will be able to call all the method in the interface. So here I will declare my method. The first one I am going to use here is the get method. Let's go ahead and see how to do that. This will be, the return type would be IEnumerable. this will iterate over the list of data that we have in our table called detail, so that we have created details.cs here. So I will be using this class name inside my interface. So this will be the return type. Show potential fixtures, this will include it, so the error will be gone. Okay, I will be returning the list of data from the detail table. What will be my method name is details list. So now we have our interface and we have a method in here. Let's go ahead and create its logic. Here I will inherit from the interface iDetails logic. I will declare the method name as a method accessibility as public, enumerable, exactly what I specified in the interface. Detail, this will show error because we haven't included here. Let's include it. Error is gone. This is the method name details list. So now what we are going to do is, using the using keyword, we will create a scope for our DB context, so that we don't have to manually open the connection and close the connection. If you have seen my previous video, CRUD operations in C# console application, it has opening of the database connection and closing of the database connection. But here, if we use the using scope, we don't have to do that manually. Now I'm going to create an object of the DB context. Now by using this object, I will be able to use all the tables in my database. So let's see. Now here what we are going to do is, we are going to return the list of all the records that we have in the details table. Let's do that. Where details list is equal to context dot, here I am using the link queue. Let me know if you need a separate video on how to write link queue queries. We are going to give the table name dot toList. Why we are using just toList is, we don't have any kind of filtering out to do here, so we are just returning what we have. Next is return details list. So that's it, we have created our logic file. Let's go back here. Okay, since why this is showing error is, our method is declared as class. Since it is declared as class, it is considering it as method definition and it's expecting a body. So let's redefine this as interface. Now all the errors should be gone. Yes. Now let's go ahead to our controller and call the method that we have just created inside try block. This is our object. Using this object, we are calling the method details list. We don't have any input parameter, so we can call it just like that. Okay, so now our coding part is over. Let's execute and see. So now the weather forecast controller, since we have deleted, it was removed. Now we have our first API that we have created. Let's try it out and see. We should get everything that we have in our database. Let me reconnect again. Let's use the select queries to see what we have in our table. Okay, sorry, we should switch to the DB that we want to use first, and then we have to execute this command. So we have 3 records. Let's see what our API gives. We get 3 records. So this is the get API without any condition. This will give us the list of all the records that we have in our DB. So if we look at the header, it is written twice, API/details/API/details. This is because in our code it's already mentioned that API/controller. That means we would have API/controller name details. So along with that we have appended API/details. So let me remove this one and just add this one, reload it, let me rebuild and start it. Now if we see, that is removed, we have on API/details and our API name. This is API, this is our controller, and this is the method that we are using in it. Let's try it again and see. We will have the list of all the data that we have in our table. So in this video we have seen how to create table and how to create a project, how to do the scaffolding process, how to use dependency injection to make our different files independent of each other and make it loosely coupled, and finally we saw how to get the list of all the objects using a get API. In the next video we will see how to do other things like other operations of the CRUD, get by ID, create, update, delete, all those operations. If you watch this video and if you have liked this, you would also like CRUD operations in console application. I am giving a link above. Please go ahead and watch this. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.